That's awesome. And Big Cass is weighing in now. Let's see what he's got to say here. You look like Don Ho from the Brady Bunch with that shirt. Thanks, Cass. Thanks, Big Cass. I appreciate that. I was kind of not really going for that look, but, it's kind of getting warm outside. So I kind of wanted to break out some Hawaiian shirt stuff today. So what can I tell you? I know a certain someone that liked it, and we'll just leave it at that for now. So anyway, a first violation will result in a suspension of up to 6 games, depending on the nature of the violation. Use of a deterrent or masking agent will result in a suspension without pay for 2 years. Use of a steroid stimulant, HGH, or other brand substance, such as pot, will result in a suspension without pay of 4 years. Evidence of an attempt to manipulate a test will result in a suspension without pay for up to 6 games. And a second violation of the steroid policy will result in a suspension without pay of 10 games. A third violation will result in banishment for a minimum of 2 years, which I think we saw that with Josh Brown that plays for the Browns. Was his last name? Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon. Players who test positive in the offseason will be referred to the substance abuse program. In cases invoking discipline for violations of the law, the commissioner has disciplinary authority, and a player can appeal to the appeals panel. The current CBA for the NFL is set to expire in 2021. Right. So what do you think of those rules there, Diamondback?
As we get, when you're talking about suspensions and everything, does it really hurt these athletes? I mean, they're making multi-millions. Now I know they forfeit that money that they would earn during that game for different charities that the team deems necessary that would get that. And that's always a great thing as far as giving that money, at least they're still paying the wage and they're giving it to the charities. But I still don't think it hurts them in such a way. I'm always going to be more on the stricter side of that because of my own issues with drug policy, stuff like that. And that's just because at a very young age, I found out that I was allergic to marijuana. Mm-hmm. So it scared me straight of even trying anything.
Right.
So I just never got that opportunity to even experience any of it, and I don't see the thrill in it. A simple drink to me actually is plenty enough for me.
Right. As a Steeler fan and watching Le'Veon Bell go through the situation he went through,
yes,
I was just like, man, lay off the pot until you're 30, 31 years old, and then you'll be done with your NFL career anyway. You'll have made millions of dollars. You'll have nothing but free time on your hands. Right. And I'm not advocating that you should smoke pot. Don't get me wrong, everybody. What I'm saying is, and this is another story for a different show, a different type of show, on whether Iconic Drew thinks that pot should be legalized or not. So right now, what we're talking about is what the current law is and what the NFL has to say about it. So we're not talking about whether or not I think it should be legalized or whether you do or not. What we're talking about is whether their suspension and the setup of the NFL rules is good enough deterrent to stop them from doing it.
I don't think it is because it's still happening.
Right.
I mean, it's obviously that a lot of them don't care. As you pointed out, I mean, at age 31 they can retire. 35, unless you're Brett Favre. But that's neither here nor there.
Right. And once again, I should give the number. I hadn't done that yet. 614-781-0754. And Cass just weighed in with another thought. Big Cass, thank you for that. He said that he doesn't think that they should get in trouble for pot due to the fact that it's legal in some states.
Some states. However, that's not fair to the ones that isn't legal in. Like Ohio, it's not illegal yet.
Well, it's legal for medical purposes.
Medical purposes.
Right.
but
Still working on that prescription. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sure you are.
The iconic Drew, you know how he is. But, yeah, I mean, and I see Cass's point there because it is true to a certain degree that, I mean, let's say your team goes and plays in Denver, play the Broncos. Well, we all know it's legal in the state of Colorado. Isn't it illegal in California as well?
California, I do believe it's some cities. I don't think
Some cities, not the entire
I
state.
don't think it's the entire state.
Yeah.
I do know the state of Washington, however, walking through Seattle, I could definitely pick up hints of it.
Right. And Cass brings up another point too. If it's medical pot, you shouldn't get dinged. That's a good point as well. I mean, if it is something that is for medical purpose, they probably shouldn't get dinged for it. I guess they'd have to be able to, of course, prove that and show that that it's definitely for that reason and not just for recreational use. Let's be honest, what my buddy Liv Young got in trouble for was for recreational use, hanging out with Mr. Blunt that ended up playing for New England and went on down and played for who did he play for last year? I don't remember. Was it Jacksonville? I believe it might have been Jacksonville. So, Washington. So the state of Washington, right? Thanks, Cass. So I see Cass has got time to weigh in tonight. That's a good thing, Cass. Thank you. I appreciate that. One of the members of the crew here, but couldn't make it in tonight. He's got some transportation issues, which is cool. I understand that. We all got our situations we're going through as far as that goes. But, definitely that's cool. Once again, 614-781-0754. Tonight we're talking about drug and steroid use, whether or not each league is doing what they need to do to stop it from happening and stop people from doing it. It seems like to me that if I was making multi-million dollars a year to play a sport, I could put aside the drugs for a few years. But it's easy for me to say that. Like my boy Eldre would say, the originator guy on this show with me, like Eldre would say, Andy, you can't jump over a car. You can't slam a basketball. You don't have that kind of ability, Iconic Drew. You can't do stuff like that. So you can't say that you would be able to put aside these drugs. It's easy for us as fans to sit back and judge guys who can't put the pot aside or any of the other illegal substances that we're talking about, PEDs and everything else, performance-enhancing drugs for those who didn't know what that term meant. And, because we do have some people listening who are not necessarily sports fans, who are just tuning in the show because they know us. And, so that's why we got to explain those things as we go. Performance-enhancing drugs. Never want to assume that your audience knows exactly what you're talking about when you give an acronym for it. So, but, that's just the thing to me. It's just like, it's easy for as a sports fan to just sit back and go, man, my guy is blowing it. And as a fan of that team, that's what makes you mad.
That does.
That's what makes you mad as a fan is this guy is messing up my team. Who does he think he is by not being able to perform? Not like I could do it.
Well, as a Falcons fan, I had that with not drug issue, but Michael Vick.
Right.
So, I mean, that was the thing with that,
Yeah.
So, once again, he's messing up my team. He's taking and making a distraction. And when he finally came back and the Falcons said, no, try somewhere else, I was actually very happy that they did that. I'm not saying the guy didn't deserve a second chance. And when he did his second chance, he redeemed himself somewhat. And I'm not saying what he did, he redeemed himself fully, but he's got to pay for that in his time.
Well, and it's just like you can't judge a person by just what they did in their past. I mean, he made a mistake, but he had to own up to it because he kind of got caught and he got in trouble for it and he got out of the league, but then he came back. And I give Michael Vick a lot of credit for being able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
As far as all that's concerned, I mean, I'm impressed with, he even played for Pittsburgh for a minute too when he came back. So, and not a bad quarterback for him at that time. So, but, I do agree with what you said earlier, Diamondback. I think that these deterrents in the NFL, not strong enough.
No.
We're talking about, a 6-game suspension for this. And granted, Josh Gordon is an example of someone that was out for 2 years. because of what he did. But he was a repeat offender, and so was Martavius Bryant of the Steelers, now of the Raiders. He got in the same situation. So,
stiffen it a little bit. I mean, not not to stiffen it like completely.
That's you. I forgot.
Kind of like not. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. But he's out for 2 years. But for those 2 years, he still should have to go through the drug testing monthly. You got to prove positive every month. You can't just, maybe that's the way they need to stiffen it. But they don't disclose. They just say you're suspended for 2 years. That's all we know. They might do that already.
Right. This is just the outline of what the NFL does, what I went through here. Yeah. There may be other things that they do behind the scenes that we don't know about.
That we don't.
Right.
But, as a fan and somebody that's looking at it, it's like, really 2 years? Okay, so 2 years he can do the drugs? Is that right? That's just not, in my opinion, not right.
Okay, so definitely agree on that. I think the NFL could be a little stricter on some things. When we get back from a couple of songs here, we're going to talk about the National Hockey League and what they do as far as the drug and steroid policy is concerned. Back in just a moment.
She grew up in an Indiana town, had a good-looking mama who never was around, but she grew up tall and she grew up right with them Indiana boys on an Indiana night. Well, moved down here at the age of 18. She blew the boys away, it was more than they'd seen. I was introduced and we both started grooving. She said, I dig you, baby, but I got to keep moving on. Keep moving on. Last dance with Mary Jane. One more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. But I've been told you never slow down, you never grow old. I'm tired of screwing up, I'm tired of going down, I'm tired of myself, I'm tired of this town. Oh my, oh hell yes, honey, put on that party dress. Buy me a drink, sing me a song, take me as I come, cause I can't stay long. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again. There's pigeons down on Market Square. She's standing in her underwear, looking down from a hotel room. The nightfall will be coming soon. Oh my, oh hell yes, you got to put on that party dress. It was too cold to cry when I woke up alone. I hit my last number, I walked to the road. Last dance with Mary Jane, one more time to kill the pain. I feel summer creeping in and I'm tired of this town again.
When the home made me sick, when the wall made me crash my car and make me feel free. I wanna drive when the wall hit my head, when the wall made my mouth too dry and make my eyes too weird. When the wall made me nervous, I didn't know what to do. When it makes me feel like I feel when I'm with you. When I'm alone with you. I want a new drug. When I won't spill. When the talk costs too much, don't come in a pill. I want a new job. When the world goes away. Run along when you feel too far. Run along when you feel too good. I want a new car. Run along down. Run along when you talk too much. I'll make a face. Bring it down. Run along when you never. Wondering what to do. When you make me feel like I feel when I'm with you. I'm alone with you. I'm alone with you,
That's right, everybody. We want a new drug. I'll see you losing the news. We want a new drug. Tonight, we are talking about drugs and steroids and performance-enhancing drugs in major sports. Me and Diamondback here. I am the iconic Drew. I got Diamondback joining me tonight with my cast of characters. So once again this week, one character. But as Diamondback pointed out last week, he can be several at one time.
Yes.
And we're not talking about girth. We're just talking about personalities.
Yeah, well, girth, I'm 3, but
Well, no, I wasn't going to go there.
I'm 10.
Diamondback, I wasn't going there.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Anyway, but no, seriously, glad the Diamondback's here tonight. And maybe next week we'll have AP. Who knows? Maybe Big E. Who knows? Maybe B will come back. Who knows? At this point, you know, it's the cast called the cast of characters, so we can do a different thing every week and have fun with that. You know, as far as that is concerned. Like, there we go. So now we're going to talk. We just got done talking about the National Football League. Now we're going to talk about the National Hockey League. My second favorite sport, pro sport, the National Hockey League.
Is Columbus ever getting a team?
Wow. Listen, man, we just made the playoffs 2 years in a row. What do you want, man? They've made the playoffs 4 times now out of 18 years. So, 4, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they've not made it out of the first round yet. But that's okay. They'll get there. They'll get there. Baby steps, man. Baby steps. They're an infant team. So.
Maybe they can get some winners from Vegas.
Vegas. Well, you know, we could do a show on how that expansion was set up a lot different
Oh, yeah.
than what Columbus had.
Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm not talking about having sour grapes or anything here, because I don't. I'm fine. I just, you know, it is well, anyway, maybe I do have a little bit of sour grapes, although I might be rooting for Vegas the rest of the way, which will curse them, because once I root for a team in the playoffs, because I rooted for Columbus in the first round, they lost. Then I rooted for Pittsburgh in the second round, they lost. Now I think I should root for the Capitals, so they'll lose.
That's probably your only hope.
Yeah, they'll way to get rid of them. So can't stand them either. Anyway, go Lightning and go Golden Knights. So now let's talk about the drug policy and steroid policy for the National Hockey League. More than the Browns since they've come back. Good point, Cass. So anytime we get a chance to rip on the Browns here on the iconic Drew and Cast a Character show, we will do it. As a Steeler fan, I love to rip on the Browns. It's fun. So although it's almost like picking on your little brother, your little retarded brother. He has no chance. Anyway, the National – and if you got something to say about that, Browns fans, call in 614-781-0754. Anyway, let's look at what the National Hockey League has to say about their drug and steroid policy. Each club will be subject to team-wide no-notice testing during training camp.
Team one.
Team-wide.
No, no.
Right. Each club will be selected at random for team-wide no notice once during the regular season. Right. Individual players will be randomly selected for a no notice testing during the regular season and playoffs. No testing on game days.
Okay.
A league-wide minimum of 60 tests may be conducted during the off season after completing an orientation schedule. For the first positive test of suspension of 20 games without pay and mandatory reference to the program for evaluation and possible treatment. For the second positive test, a 60 no pay for 60 NHL games, and also that testing as well. For a third positive test, a permanent suspension. A player can reapply for reinstatement after a minimum of 2 years. The NHL test for recreational drugs, such as cocaine and marijuana, and performance-enhancing drugs. Changes in the policy was made in July of 2016. So the NHL's had these rules now for a little over 2 years.
Okay.
So Diamondback, what say you about these rules?
Kind of like the no notice, but does that mean no notice as in, hey, we know these guys aren't doing it, so these are the ones we're doing, but then being team-wide by the NHL, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, no notice, it's your day for the team.
Yeah.
Oh crap, okay. You know, you're not nailing just one or two. Now, in your research of that, you said 60, at least 60 on the off season.
Yeah.
Is that just randomly picking people and saying, hey, show up this day for your drug test? In your research, did you see that?
It says that a league-wide minimum of 60 tests may be conducted during the off-season after they complete the orientation schedule. The NHL has this program that each player has to go through during the off-season where they talk to them about the performance-enhancing drugs and marijuana and cocaine and to not use them and why and all of that type of thing. Once a player completes that, he can be tested. But only 60 players will be tested during the offseason. And that's not a lot.
That's a drop in the bucket, really.
Right.
I mean,
But you don't know if it's going to be you.
yeah, you don't.
So, and my only other thing was, too, I agree with what Cass said here. It's a whole lot of tests. No doubt about that.
Oh, yeah. It's gonna,
But,
everybody's getting nailed.
yes.
It sounds like not, like a lot of shops will do, when you're in warehousing. They'll just pick the same 4 people to go do the random drug test.
Yeah.
And, you're picking the same 4 because you don't want to lose a good worker.
Yeah.
You're not making the place any safer.
To play devil's advocate on this a little bit, when I read through this or wrote this down and was doing my research on this for the National Hockey League and their drug testing and steroid use, I thought, team-wide testing once during the regular season. So once your team has been tested, you're done unless your team makes playoffs.
Right.
And then you could be tested again. So, if you're on a team that's like not going to make the playoffs, you're not going to be tested again until the off season. And then there's only 60 players. So there's a chance you won't be one of them.
Yeah.
A high chance.
Maybe they need to do, all teams in the playoffs get tested every 30 days. And all,
Right.
First round, you're tested day 1.
Right.
Second round, you're tested day 1.
Right. I did like you're not tested on game day. There's no reason to distract the player from getting ready for the game, getting ready for all that. I will say this much. I do think that the National Hockey League has a stricter policy overall than the NFL.
Oh, yeah. I like it a lot better. You said how many games they're suspended for the first?
20.
20. That's a huge hit. Now, granted, the NFL only plays 16 games.
Yes.
Where the NHL, I do play
82.
82.
Right.
So it's the same as
the NBA,
NBA.
which we'll get to next.
Yeah.
The National Basketball Association will be the next conversation.
So yeah, you're you're still hitting them for about the same amount of time overall. I mean, 20 games, you're a named player, and you've got nailed for this. That's going to really hurt. So,
Right.
you know, that's where things are going to come into play, and you know, you're busted for it. You're out for 20 games. That's huge. So, try to bring it up.
Right. I mean, I think that there is a lot of, you know, it is a lot of different suspensions as far as that's concerned. And I do think 60 games for a second conviction is pretty good,
That's
considering that, you know, if you get suspended for 60 games out of 182, if you break that down to the NFL, that's like 10 out of 16.
well, it's 3/4. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Right around there.
Yeah.
Or 12.
Just shy. So yeah, 12.
12 games. So you're looking at, you know, getting that kind of coverage as far as that's concerned. So
that's. I mean, so far the NHL is the one that I like the best out of it. However, they need to, you know, I've always said, you know, like I said in the other one, they need to be a little bit more stricter with things. That's where I stand with that. Sitting here, I'm looking. I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Oh my gosh, I cannot. It looks like Rangers forward Jarrett Stoll actually got busted for felony possession.
oh,
April, that was his arrest was in April in the Las Vegas Strip. So obviously that was on a trip to Vegas.
right.
His teammate Ryan Monroe was arrested for charges of DUI and cocaine possession. So I mean, there. Once again, even with these strict policies, you still have players going out past it.
Well, you're still going to have people that are going to take the risk. They're going to say, you know what, I won't get caught. I'm not the one that's going to get caught. I listen to Golick and Wingo quite a bit in the morning. It used to be Mike and Mike. And anyway, Mike Golick brought up an interesting point a couple weeks ago. He was saying that when he was an athlete, you'd see a guy get hurt on the field. And your first response would be, that's not going to happen to me. I'm invincible. I'll be okay. I'll be all right. I'm not going to get hurt. But they think the same way about this kind of thing. When they're off the field, and they're out having fun and doing things and all that type of stuff, I'm not going to get caught. I'm not the one that's going to get busted. So, of course, they know the policies. They know the rules. They're still going to try to get away with it. And it's within their human nature to say, well, I'm an athlete. I've been passed along. All this stuff has happened as my whole life. I'm going to get away with this, you know, which is another interesting topic to discuss sometime too about, you know, privileged athletic rights and all that kind of stuff. But like Eldray would say, Andy, or Iconic, you can't jump over a car. So, which I cannot. Eldray's right. Eldray's made that point obvious to me. I cannot jump over a car. I've never been able to. I cannot even slam a basketball. But white boys can't jump. That's a fact. So, but I've never been able to jump or do any of that kind of stuff. Was never the best athlete. Josh Gordon. Right, and Cass brings up two names here, Josh Gordon, Mark McGuire. Two guys that tried to get away with things. Yeah, and right, we'll get to Major League Baseball here in just a little bit. You know, there was some interesting things with baseball when we get to their stats here. But
then we're talking about the performance
Right. They're mostly about the performance enhancing drugs, not necessarily cocaine and marijuana and all that type of stuff. It seemed to me that the NHL's first two main concerns were cleaning up cocaine and marijuana, which makes me wonder how much of a problem that's been in that league in the past. That maybe that's been an issue in the National Hockey League way in the past.
And I don't know of any as far as that goes, but I know we play Major League Baseball, but we have the LA Dodgers player. I'm trying to think of his name right offhand. Had cocaine.
Yeah.
There was a individual that had a needle of heroin when he submitted to third base.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even Major League Baseball's got that in there, but they decided to clean up.
A couple more names too: Roger Clemens, Darryl Strawberry. Yeah.
I said LA Dodgers, but
Yeah.
I guess he was a Yankee too.
No, the Mets. Didn't Strawberry play for the Mets? I believe he did. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure he played for the Mets. So anyway, but that's the National Hockey League. I do agree that, I do think that so far of the two leagues we've looked at, the National Hockey League's rules are the strictest of the two that we've looked at so far. Next, we are going to talk about the National Basketball Association. That's right after we play a couple more songs here. We'll look at the National Basketball Association and their drug and steroid policy.
Oh my God, Becky, look at her butt. It is so big. She looks like one of those rap guys' girlfriends. Who understands those rap guys? They only talk to her because she looks like a total prostitute, okay? Her butt, it's just so big. I can't believe it's just so round. It's like out there. Gross. Look. She's just so wow.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny. Now when a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung. Wanna pull up tough cause you notice that butt was stuffed deep in the jeans she's wearing. I'm hooked and I can't stop staring. Oh baby, I wanna get whipped up and take your picture. My homeboys tried to warn me of that butt you got makes
me so horny.
Ooh, rumpa smooth skin. You say you wanna get in my bins? Well, use me, cause you ain't that average groupie. I seen her dancing. To hell with romance and she's wet. Got it going like a turbo vet. I'm tired of magazines saying flat butts all the thing. Had the average black man and ask him that. She gotta pack much back. So fellas, if your girlfriend got your butt, tell her shake it, shake that healthy butt. Baby got back. Open baby got back. Open I like them round and big, and when I'm throwing a gig, I just can't help myself. I'm acting like an animal. Now here's my scandal. I wanna get you home and double up. I ain't talking about Playboy, cause silicone parts are made for toys. I want them real thick and juicy, so find that juicy double. Mix a lot's in trouble, begging for a piece of that bubble. So I'm looking at rock videos. Not need bimbos walking like hoes. You can have them bimbos. I'll keep my women like Flojo. A word to the thick soul sisters, I wanna get with ya. I won't cuss or hit ya, but I gotta be straight when I say I wanna. Till the break of dawn, baby, got it going on. A lot of simps won't like this song, cause them punks like to hit and quit it. And I'd rather stay and play, cause I'm long and I'm strong and I'm down to get the friction on. So ladies, if you wanna roll my Mercedes, turn around, stick it out. Even white boys got the shout. Baby got back. Baby got back. Yeah, baby. When it comes to females, Cosmo ain't got nothing to do with my selection. 36, 24, 36. Only if she's 5'3". So your girlfriend rolls a Honda, playing workout tapes by Fonda. But Fonda ain't got a motor in the back of her Honda. My Anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hun. You can do side bends or sit-ups, but please don't lose that butt. Some brothers wanna play that hard role and tell you that the butt ain't gold, so they toss it and leave it, and I pull up quick to retrieve it. So Cosmo says you're fat. Well, I ain't down with that, cause your waist is small and your curves are kicking, and I'm thinking about sticking to the beanpole dames in the magazines. You ain't it, miss thing. Give me a sister, I can't resist her. Red beans and rice didn't miss her. Some knucklehead tried to diss, cause his girls are on my list. He had game, but he chose to hit him, and I pull up quick to get with him. So ladies, if the butt is round and you want a triple X throw down, dial 1-900-MIX-A-LOT and kick them nasty thoughts. Baby got back. Baby got back. Little in the middle, but you got much back. Little in the middle, but you got much back.
I have cancer from an infection, human
My
papillomavirus.
God, Becky,
Who
look
knew that
at
virtually
her
all
butt.
cases?
It is so big.
You are obsession. I cannot sleep. I am possession. Unopened at your feet. There's no balance. No equality. Be still. I will not accept defeat.
I will have you. Yes, I will have you. I will find a way, and I will have you. Like a butterfly, a wild butterfly. I will collect you and capture you.
You are an obsession.
You're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me. You are an obsession. You're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me.
I feed you, I drink you by day and by night. I need you by sun and candlelight. You protest, you want to leave, say, oh, there's no alternative.
Your face is again. I see the beauty there, but I see danger. Stranger beware of circumstance in your naked dreams. Your affection is not what it seems.
You are an
Obsession, you're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me. You are an obsession, you're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me.
My fantasy has turned to madness, and now my goodness has turned to badness. My need to possess you has consumed my soul. My life is trembling, I have no control.
I will have you, yes I will have you. I will find a way, and I will have you. Like a butterfly, a wild butterfly. I will collect you and capture you.
You are an obsession.
You're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me.
You are an obsession.
You're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me.
You are an obsession.
You're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me. You are an obsession. You're my obsession.
Who do you want me to be?
To make you sleep with me. You are an obsession.
So 1, 2, 3, take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I say you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. 4, 5, 6, come on and get your kicks. Now you don't need the money when you look like that, do you, honey? Big black boots, long brown hair. She's so sweet with her get back stare. Well, I can see you home with me, but you were with another man. Yeah, I know we ain't got much to say before I let you get away. Yeah. I said, are you gonna be my girl? Listen, 1, 2, 3, take my hand and come with me because you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. I say you look so fine that I really want to make you mine. 4, 5, 6, come on and get your kicks. Now you don't need the money with a face like that, do ya? Big black boots, long brown hair. She's so sweet with her get back stare. Well, I can see you home with me, but you were with another man. Yeah, I know we ain't got much to say before I let you get away. Yeah. I said, are you gonna be my girl?
Right, everybody, welcome back to the iconic Drew and Castic characters of Sports Opinion Show. Tonight we're talking about drugs, steroid use, and performance-enhancing drugs in major sports and what each sport has to say about it. So far, we've talked about the National Hockey League and the National Football League. Now we're going to talk about the National Basketball Association. A couple of things before I get into that, though. Phone number, once again, 614-781-0754. Once again, that's 614-781-0754. Call in if you got some opinions on this or just want to talk about sports in general. I will say this, too. A shout-out to Big Cass. You guys check him out on 14 Bullets podcast, 14 Bullets Armchair Sports. He's talking about mostly Ohio State sports on that. Some good stuff there. Cass is doing a good job with that. And I learned a lot in this business from working with Cass at the school. So shout out to Big Cass on that. Hopefully we get you back here sometime, Cass. I like working with you. Love the fact that Diamondback's here tonight. Me and Diamondback known each other for over 20 years. We've been friends for a long time. And, great guy, one of my best friends in the whole world. So I'm glad Diamondback is here. One of his friends just said the Diamonds got back. So Well, we'll just kind of leave that right there. I don't even want to know. So as far as that's concerned, but we're going to get into the National Basketball Association next. First, Big Cast does have one question for me. I'm going to answer real fast, and that is, what's my opinion on Joe Burrow transferring out of Ohio State? And since we are broadcasting in Columbus, Ohio, we do talk Ohio State sports from time to time and give our opinions on the Buckeyes, even though you are a Roll Tide fan. And thanks to you, the only team I can root for in the SEC is the Tide, which pisses off a lot of Ohio State fans that I root for Alabama. And you know why I root for Alabama? Because it pisses off some Buckeye fans.
It's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And then Notre Dame is my second favorite team, which really pisses off Ohio State fans. But that's another story for another time. My opinion on Joe Burrow. First of all, I think Ohio State's made the right choice, that they're picking the right guy to be their quarterback next. I'm going to say that first of all. Second of all, I wish Joe Burrow nothing but luck wherever he goes. Now, if he goes to Nebraska and has to play against Ohio State, I hope Nebraska loses because I'm a Buckeye fan. But I will say this. If he goes to Nebraska or someplace like that and ends up playing against the Buckeyes, I hope he's undefeated in every other game because I like Joe Burrow. I think he could be a talented quarterback. I think Ohio State made the right choice. So that's my opinion on Joe Burrow. Wish him nothing but good luck, and I hope that things go well for him at wherever his next stop is. Like I said, one loss if he plays against Ohio State. I mean, he can beat Bama because that'd be a nice upset. But not even Notre Dame. I don't know. That'd be tough for me, too, because I like Burrow quite a bit. But like I said, I think we made the right choice at Ohio State. I think Ohio State made the right choice. I had nothing to do with it. Okay, so let's talk about the National Basketball Association next and their drug policy. All right, Diamondback, you ready for this?
All right.
All right. Players negotiated disagreement in 2011 during a lockout. Players are subject to 4 random tests each season. All players are subject to 2 random tests during the offseason.
Oh, hello.
They are scheduled and conducted by an independent third-party entity and are without prior notice to the player. First confirmed performance-enhancing drug, you receive a 5-game suspension. Recently, though, it's been 10. The first doping offense is a 20-game suspension. A second failure calls for 45 games. A third positive test results in banishment from the league.
Complete management?
Now, that's what it says, banishment. A first failed test for drug abuse of cocaine, speed, heroin, LSD, and the like result in instant disqualification. So, sorry, folks. Iconic Drew's fighting a little allergy time here. However, marijuana, the first positive test results in treatment. A second positive test results in treatment and a fine. And a third calls for a 5-game suspension. So what are your thoughts on all that, Diamondback?
I'd really like to ask them the simple question of what's your definition of treatment? Are we sending them for drug rehab? Is it just something to, are they going to see a counselor, shrink? What's their definition of treatment? I do like that they have all players during the season have random drug tests up to 4.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that. That shows that everybody's being tested once again, not just a hand-picked few. Everybody's got to go through it. That they say that it's random, or are they talking, okay, hey, you're going to be tested in 2 weeks. It's your turn. Give them time to clean their act up. What's that? What's going on there?
Well, it states here that they're scheduled and conducted by an independent third-party entity and are without prior notice to the player.
Okay, so it is without prior notice. Okay, did not catch that when you first said that. I mean, once again, definitely better than the NFL's.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that the NHL's got them by just a little bit.
Yeah.
But once again, their penalties are definitely there. They are hurting them more by doing 20 games and,
Mm-hmm.
and multiple games. So can't really go too they can't really go too much further with that.
When I was researching this one for the NBA, I thought, they're being pretty strict with everything up to the marijuana issue. They're not strict on the marijuana policy
They're
at all.
They're being,
And I don't know.
I think that's because marijuana is really on the verge of being legalized in a lot of states. And
Right.
So they're trying to be lenient with it until it's legalized. But once again, there are sports heroes. They are
Mhm.
what our kids look up to and everything like this.
Right.
And I think they need to step up their game and sit there and say, like the sports heroes in our time would always say no to drugs.
Mm-hmm.
They would tell us, hey, there's a reason behind it.
Right. Exactly.
As Killer, the guy that said that I was Don Diamonds got back there, he chimed in here. He's like, it's because it's becoming legal. So he's agreeing with that. We have that whole aspect of it becoming legal. I think that is going to be a big key part why they're being so lenient.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. As far as all that's concerned, I think that it's definitely a matter of the fact that it's becoming more. The marijuana is becoming legal in more places, so maybe they're not looking at that as strictly as some of the other drugs, and maybe that's why their policies are a little harder on some of the other drugs.
They need to step it up a little bit. As I said, our sports heroes need to actually to be that better person and be there for our children, so that the kids don't think that it's completely okay. Not saying that having a little bit of fun. I mean, for crying out loud, I have a little bit of alcohol from time to time, and I'm sure a couple of my friends will chime in here saying a little bit, but I mean, you got to have a little bit of fun with life, enjoy life, but you also got to see what kind of damage these drugs are doing to your system.
Well, you know me well enough to know, Diamondback. Iconic Drew likes a beer now and then. There's no doubt about that. And I mean but we're talking about, first of all, we're talking about illegal drugs. We're talking about, when we get to NASCAR, you're going to see a couple of different things here with NASCAR. But you're going to be like, oh, wait a minute. So I'm going to foreshadow a little bit here and tell everybody out there that when we get to NASCAR, we might be talking about alcohol a little bit. As far as that, these guys are driving though, so that's a different story. No, nonetheless, I think the NBA so far, in my opinion, the NBA has the strictest rules.
Yeah.
I put the NHL second. I hate to say it, I could put the NFL last. These three.
I think the NFL is going to be last in all of them, in my opinion. But you're kind of smiling, so I guess I'm going to have to be shocked on a sport here.
Well, you never know. I mean, I we'll see in time here as we roll through the other two. We got the Major League Baseball and NASCAR to talk about yet, as far as all that's concerned. So we will see exactly where the whole thing goes, and where all that rules to, But I think that when you look at this, when you look at the NBA, like I said, this whole players are subject to 4 random tests throughout the season that they don't know about.
Yeah.
They don't know when it is.
Yeah, it's not.
And 2 during the off season? That's huge, I think.
Yeah, because it's nailing every player during the season, not just 60. So
yeah,
Yeah, so yeah, I can see what
I
you're
mean-
saying that NHL is a little stricter.
I mean, you mean the NBA.
All right.
Yeah.
NBA is a little-
Right. And like I said before, they got strict on everything but pot. They went, all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, we'll talk about pot now. That's going to be, right, you got to go to some class and then you might get fined. And they didn't even say how much the fine was. They did. I searched and looked. They gave no example of how much the fine is. But as much as these players are making, is it really? Come on, it'd be like finding me a dime. I mean, I'll grant you, there might be weeks right before payday that a dime might hurt a little bit. But these guys. I mean, come on, this amount. It could be $1 million. It's not going to hurt most of these players.
Yeah. No, that's a drop in the bucket.
So
Killer chimed in. He said the new motto will be "Don't do drugs, but smoke a doob. It's okay."
Smoke a doob. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like that slogan. I kind of like that slogan. Now that I'm not on my Facebook Live page anymore, I might say a few things here.
All right.
So just because my kids aren't watching it right now, well, they might. I don't know. Spencer might be watching me here on YouTube, so maybe I need to be careful. But as far as that's concerned, he said, I won't be able to sleep tonight, Dad. I think I'm going to stay up and watch you on YouTube. So, Spencer, if you're out there, hey, man, give us a call, buddy. 614-781-0754. That goes for anybody. Once again, that's 614-781-0754. Diamondback said I didn't say the number enough during the last segment. I've now said it 7 times during this segment. One more time, 614-781-0754. So, no, I won't do it again. That was 8. It was enough. 8 is enough.
8 is enough.
That's a good show.
For that 70 sitcom people that actually seen that show.
I barely remember that. Anyway, I mean, if you guys are out there listening, give us a call. We are talking about drug and steroid use in professional sports and what each penalty and fine is in each division, each league, each different league. Right now, we're going to play a couple songs. When we come back, we are going to talk about Major League Baseball, I do believe, is next. Yes, it is. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball and what their drug and steroid not only history is, because there's a lot there that's rich as far as their history is concerned.
Yes.
And also, but their current fines, their current everything that they currently do as far as that is concerned. But we're going to play about 3 songs here. When we come back, we're going to talk about Major League Baseball and the drug and fine suspensions. We will stop the music if you call us 614-781-0754.
You got to take her out. Okay. You wanna get down on the ground. Okay. She alive, she alive, she alive. cocaine. You got bad blues, you wanna get them blues, cocaine. Your dirty's done, and you wanna go around, cocaine. She don't lie, she don't lie, she don't lie, cocaine. Okay. She don't lie, she don't lie, she don't lie. Okay. She don't lie, she don't lie, she don't lie. Okay. Yeah.
Who damn kids is there any damn way?
Oh, man.
Over here tearing up that damn couch. We had that damn couch for 20 years. Should have kept the plastic on it. And this one, Snoop Doggy Dogg. You need to get a jobby job.
Boy, take care of the house while I'm gone. Clean up your room. Take out the garbage. I don't want these fast hair girls up in here. You hear me? And definitely don't let the dog pound up in here. I mean that.
And don't be messing with the 8-track. Loan me $5.
With so much drama in the LBC, it's kinda hard being Snoop D-O double G, but I somehow, some way keep coming up with funky ass hits like every single day. May I kick a little something for the G's and make a few ends as I breeze through. 2 in the morning and the party still jumping cause my mama ain't home. I got some freaks in the living room getting it on and they ain't leaving till 6 in the morning. So what you wanna do? I got a pocket full of rubbers and my homeboys do too. So turn off the lights and close the doors. But for what? We don't love them now. Yeah. So we gon' blow an ounce to this. G's up, freeze up for a second now. Bounce to this.
Rolling down the street, smoking in love, sipping on gin and gills.
Laid back.
With my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Rolling down the street, smoking in love, sipping on gin and gills.
Laid back.
With my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
I got me some secret gin. Everybody got their cups, but they ain't chipped in. Now these types of things happen all the time. You gotta get yours, but fool, I gotta get mine. See, everything is fine when you're listening to the D.O.G. I got to cultivate the music that be captivating me. Who listen to the words that I speak as I take me a drink to the middle of the street and get the mic into this trick named Shady. She used to be my homeboy's lady. 80 degrees when I tell that trick, please raise up off these NUTs, cause you get none of these. That heat. As I'm out with the dog pound, feel the breeze, and you know I'm just
rolling down the street, smoking in love, sipping on gin and gills.
Laid back.
With my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Rolling down the street, smoking in love, sipping on gin and gills.
Laid back.
With my mind on my money and my money on my mind.
Later on that day, my homie Dr. Dre came through with a gang of Tangeray and a fat ass J of some bubonic tick that made me choke. This ain't no joke, I had to back up both of it and sit my cup down. Tangeray and ETF toe down now, but it ain't no stopping, cause I'm still popping. And Dre got some tricks from the city of Compton to serve me, not with a cherry on top, cause when I get through, I got to hit the dope spot. Don't get upset, girl, that's just how it goes. I don't love them, no, I'm out the dope, and I'll be.
I didn't want to go over Gertrude's house any damn way.
You ain't got to worry about that because I ain't taking you nowhere with me.
JB was over there.
What JB got to do
He
with
drank
you?
too damn
Oh
much.
man, I ain't got nothing. Don't talk
You
so
make
loud.
me
Look,
drink.
you done missed the time, man.
I know where we live at. We've been living there for 27 years.
Change your practice.
Living in dog pound. That's what it is. Him and them damn dog. I want everybody out of the damn house. I want the house clean. I mean, everybody out here. You better get on out of here. You too, get on out of here. Okay, I want everybody out. That's right, everybody out. That's right, this is my house. Oh, you're showing my TV. Everybody out. You don't hear me though. Everybody out. That's right. Snoop Dogg, where you at, boy? Everybody out.
All right, everybody out. Yeah, that's Snoop Dogg with Gin and Juice. Right before that, we had Cocaine by Eric Clapton, because tonight we're talking about drugs. Well, specifically performing enhancing drugs, steroids, and other drugs, though, that we have talked about. Cocaine, we've talked about marijuana, we've talked about some drugs tonight, but we're talking about this in the context of sports. And with what the NFL, so far we've covered the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, and the National Hockey League. Now, we're going to talk about Major League Baseball and what they're doing to clean up their act. We've talked a little bit about when the songs were playing about some of their past. I certainly remember the home run era of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire. I got caught up in it. I was, you know me, I like the Cubs. And, I mean, the Cubs are one of my 4 teams. Yes, 4, folks.
All from the same conference.
3 are from the same conference.
And same division.
Yeah, 3 are from the same division. 1 is the Tigers. So they're the ones that really matter. The other 3 I just kind of root for because they're there. And the Reds suck, so, you know, whatever. Cass, if you're still listening, sorry, but he knows it's true. So, but, you know, I mean, that's the thing. I just think that, you know, I got caught up in that whole era of Sammy Sosa versus Mark McGwire. It was exciting.
Yeah, the home run race. That
You-
was awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
Barry Bonds, as Killer points out, he was part of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Holds a couple of records, which I will never let him take the Hank Aaron one because without an asterisk.
Right. Well,
It's my personal
well,
opinion.
if Diamondback is stopping you, Barry Bonds, guess what? If you're out there listening, you don't get it. Sorry about your luck,
There's an
Bonds.
asterisk.
Yeah, there's an asterisk for you,
Yes.
according to Diamondback. And actually, that's all that matters is what Diamondback thinks. So
My opinion.
it's right. It's your opinion. It's just a sports opinion show. This is what you're paid for, Diamondback. That's why you're making big bucks over there. So, Major League Baseball. In 2014, the number of in-season random urine tests doubled from 1,400 to 3,200. Blood collections for HGH detection will increase to 400 random test collections. Also went up to 1,200. Sorry about that. A first violation of the joint drug program is 80 unpaid games. A second violation results in an unpaid 162 game suspension. A third violation results in permanent suspension. Every player who is suspended for a PE substance is upheld, will be subject to additional unannounced urine collections and 3 unannounced blood collections during every year of his career from that point forward. Players will have year-round access to supplements that will not cause a positive test result. So what say you about this, Diamondback? About Major League Baseball, what they're doing?
Well, I mean, they go straight from half a year to a full season. That's amazing. That's kind of strict as far as taking them out there. And yes, Killer, I already knew that it was a full season. Thank you very much.
Right. Killer, thanks for pointing out to us that 162 games is an entire Major League Baseball season. We knew that, but thanks for listening, Killer. We do appreciate your comments and chiming in. You can call in, too, 614-781-0754. Once again, that's 681-781-0754. I'm going to say it one more time because I mispronounced it with that time, 614-781-0754. If you want to call in and talk about drugs, the performance-enhancing drugs, other types of drugs, and what each of these leagues are doing about them. So at this point, we've looked at the 4 major leagues. We're going to do NASCAR after a couple of songs here. We're going to talk about what NASCAR says because NASCAR is a significant sport, and I wanted to include them because I thought maybe Big E would be here tonight, and he's a huge NASCAR fan. So, but he's not here, and that's okay. Maybe he'll call in, 614-781-0754. So, what say you at this point, Diamondback? Which of the 4 is strictest?
I still got to lean towards the NBA.
Okay.
I still got to lean towards them. I mean, however, the Major League Baseball does sound like they're stepping it up.
Mm-hmm. Well, a second violation for an entire season. A third violation, you're gone. I mean, you're done. Eliminated.
And I've just got to let Killer know, even though you're a Canadian, you have no baseball teams up there, and Toronto does not have a baseball team. I don't care. Blue Jays suck. Anyways, you can't.
I was going to say, does Toronto still have a team?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe they had left too.
Yeah.
It was the Expos that went. It was the Expos that went to our nation's capital.
Yeah.
So became the Nationals.
They got smart and went south.
Yeah. Well. And, baseball doesn't work in Canada. Sorry. Nothing personal, Killer. Again, 614-781-0754. I'd like to hear from you, or anybody for that matter. So, but, okay. So at this point, you think the NBA is the toughest?
Yes. I mean, just with that. Yes, Killer. Yes, Washington is our nation's capital. We know that.
He didn't know that, apparently.
I do think they're a little bit stricter, even though the penalties are harsher in the Major League Baseball. So it's kind of a toss up between the two.
Well, those two have got to be at the top right now. I'm still going to put the NFL dead last. And I hate to say that because I am a fan of the National Football League. That is the one sport. I mean, football, I'll go out of my way to watch football. as you well know, Diamondback, you've known me for 20 years. That is the one sport that I will go out of my way, whether it's college, high school, pros. I don't care. I'm watching it.
Well, you pulled me away from baseball, got me watching more. I mean, that was the thing. Again, when in the hype of when we met, that was the hype of the Atlanta Braves being constantly going to the dance and not coming home with the ring, you know. But
yeah, they were a bridesmaid there for a few years.
they were the Buffalo Bills of baseball.
Yes.
Kind of funny that, you know, they're named after an Indian or Native American, and then turn around and, well, what did they eat? Buffalo. Anyways, so
Wow. That's a good tie-in there. Man, Diamondback, I'm surprised. How did you bring all that back around? That was impressive.
that's an old joke.
Is it? Okay.
Not my.
That's not even yours? That's not even yours?
I can't even claim it.
Wow. Okay.
I have no idea who came up with the joke, but.
No, well, I'd claim it then.
I would tie it. You know?
I'd go ahead and claim it. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. So, I mean, but yeah, I mean, I think that my personal opinion, I think Major League Baseball has the toughest rules. Anytime you go from half a season to a full season, and then your third one, you're done. And there's no appeal to come back. It's over. You get caught 3 times, you're not playing Major League Baseball anymore.
I mean, yeah,
You're going to Japan.
Yeah, you're going to Japan.
Or you're just done playing baseball. Because you can't even play minor league baseball. Once you get suspended like that, it's over. You're done. Your career is done. Now, if you're dumb enough to be caught 3 times, okay, who do we have on the phone?
It's actually Killer.
Hey, Killer. How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Where do you live in Canada, man?
I'm actually in Saskatoon, or as Diamond calls it, Saskatchewan.
Okay.
That's one of the names I call it. It's called Sasquatch, just to make it mad.
Sasquatch? Yeah. That's pretty good.
Yeah, Sasquatch. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for calling in. What's your opinion on these PEDs and what each sport's trying to do to clean it up?
Well, I actually agree with you about Major League Baseball with their strict reasoning and their strict policies, but I think they had to do it because of what happened with the 90s and the home runs. The home run derby, I guess you can really call it, between McGuire and Sosa.
Mm-hmm.
But they had to do something really harsh in order to make sure that they can clean up their act, right? Because that was really the first league that had the PED problem. The NBA, I like their policy. With the 5-game suspension at first, I think it was when I was watching, and then the bigger suspension the second time, and then the third one is you're out. The National Hockey League was a 20 and then a 60. It's okay, but I mean, again, it's I figure that they have more leniency because you can come back and play in a couple of years. So that's kind of what I like about that one. So, and I don't really care about the NFL policy because I watch it, and I watch them for a lot. I'm a Cowboys fan, unfortunately for you guys, but they, like I said, they have their problems too. Well, not just with that, but I think they have to clean up some of the other stuff more than they have to clean up their PED issues.
Well, I agree with that, especially with the NFL. It seems like there's a lot of off the field things that are going on right now in the National Football League that are more pressing as far as that's concerned. So, how'd you become a Cowboys fan living up there?
My dad was a Cowboys fan. I watched him when I was young. I became a Cowboys fan mostly for the Michael Irvin, Troy, and Emmitt Smith era. In the 90s, when they started actually playing pretty well. I watched a lot of it then that way. I also watched them do the downfall after that when they really had no quarterback, and then watched them rise up again with Tony Romo, but never really get into the dance to getting there. And Diamond, I just wanted to point out to you that you were talking about your Braves earlier and how they lost and never won the ring, and just to remind you that they lost to Toronto. So just point that out for you there.
Ouch. That's a good one.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I forgot they lost to Toronto. I remember when they lost to Cleveland. Was in Cleveland.
Cleveland is the one that they won.
Okay, Cleveland was the one they beat. That's right. That's right. Yeah, they beat Cleveland. That's right. Yeah. And then after that, they couldn't beat Toronto. Yeah.
But then again,
and that was like the fourth time they went there, or the third time they lost to Toronto, and that's like the fourth time when they beat Cleveland there. So I can't remember which way it went, but they were there 4 times in a row and only won once.
Yeah.
Where Toronto won back to back and won both of them. So they have more rings also than Atlanta. So again, he could just eat his words.
Right, exactly. Eat your words, Diamondback.
Okay, I'll eat him. But
Yeah.
then again, he's also an Auburn fan. So.
Oh, what? So you're an Auburn fan too, Killer?
Yeah, I've been a
Wow.
fan. I don't watch a lot of college because
Yeah.
it's on like Saturday here for us too, and like we don't watch a lot of TV during the like in the afternoon. So, Auburn, I don't get a lot of games up here for that stuff, so I don't watch a lot of the actual college games up here. So unfortunately, we don't get a lot of them. I just watch them sometimes in the evening when they're on, but that's pretty much it.
I'm thinking for an upcoming show that we may talk about biggest sports rivalries and what the biggest sports rivalries are. And one of them that, of course, I thought of right off the bat when I thought of the topic was my Steelers against your Cowboys.
Yes.
I mean, that's been a huge rivalry over the years and a fun one. Well, it's been fun for me more than so for, although Dallas did get even with us for one. Pittsburgh still has two against them. Yeah. So, but it's been a good rivalry over the years, no doubt about that. And there's a lot of great rivalries in sports. Let me ask you this question too, Killer, while we have you on the line. Are you a fan of one of the Canadian hockey teams?
I'm actually a fan of the Edmonton Oilers.
Okay. Okay.
I've been a fan of them since the 80s, since like the Wayne Gretzky days with Gretzky, Messier, Coffee, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've been a fan of the Edmonton Oilers for a very long time.
All right.
I did talk about the Jets earlier to Diamond because they're the only Canadian team left in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes.
If they lose tomorrow night, obviously they won't have a Canadian team again. But usually in Canada, when there's like one Canadian team left, mostly everybody jumps on the one Canadian team to try and win Stanley Cup every year.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Won since '93. So.
Right. I knew it had been a while. I couldn't remember exactly how far back that was, and I wasn't really going to even ask that. But thanks for volunteering that information anyway.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. So. Yeah, I'm a Columbus Blue Jackets fan since we got a team down here, and we haven't been able to make it out of the first round yet. But at least,
you guys are in a tough division. I mean, you guys have to deal with you have to deal with Pittsburgh for years, and then this year you have to deal with Washington. So I mean, the last couple of years you had to deal with either the past two Stanley Cup winners, or now the team that's in the conference finals. So I mean, it's understandable where that went with that. So
yeah. So obviously, if Edmonton, or it's not Edmonton, but if Winnipeg wins, you'll be pulling for them the rest of the way. But if they don't, who would you root for the rest of the way in the playoffs in the NHL?
I really like Marc-Andre Fleury.
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that the Vegas Golden Knights actually do something and win.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that Pittsburgh let him go. And I just find that if he goes and wins with Vegas, it's kind of like, haha, Pittsburgh, you should have kept me for one. And then I'm actually like Nashville. I'm okay too because I like PK Subban. I do find that his character and the way he plays the game is he's really awesome and really good for the game. So I want him to get Stanley Cup himself. You know what I mean?
No, PK Subban. He's one of those players that if you have him on your team, you love him. If you don't, you hate him.
Yeah, he could be that way.
He gets booed a lot.
Yeah, and if Washington ends up going to the final and winning it all too, I'm okay with that because my nephews are Braden Holtby fans. Braden Holtby was an NXS Toon Blade himself, so I mean that was from WHL, so that's really would be good for us too.
Well, the one thing I can say, if the Caps do win it all, I can say the Jackets were kicked out of the playoffs by 2 years in a row by the team that won the Stanley Cup.
3 years in a row.
Yeah, 3 years in a row.
Won the last two,
That's right. Yeah, good.
3 years in a row.
That's right. I forgot about being 3. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's been fun being a Jackets fan because it's a new team, and all that. Well, not totally new. We're 18 years in now. Doesn't even seem like it's been 18 years. It's a long time. 18 years. Yeah. Well, I know because my jersey, I've got a 00 jersey, and it's because of the year 2000 we came in the league.
Now, see, this is why
so.
Killer's a better one with this because I don't know a lot about hockey.
Well, hockey's a great sport, and we debated this a couple weeks ago, Killer. NHL playoffs versus NBA playoffs.
Up here, we don't really watch the NBA playoffs much. Well, at least I don't.
Right. There you go.
I used to be an NBA fan back in the Jordan, like when Jordan was playing and that sort of thing when the Bulls were playing because I was a Bulls fan.
Mm-hmm.
I still kind of cheer for the Bulls, but I don't watch much basketball anymore. But hockey is like up here it's like God for us.
Oh yeah.
We mostly we live and breathe. I mean, I got to go play actually myself in 45 minutes. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a great sport. I love hockey. We kind of came to the conclusion a couple weeks ago that the NHL playoffs are more exciting at the beginning, and the NBA playoffs are more exciting at the end, because you end up with
the series that's
the
gonna happen
Cavs
between-
and
Yeah, and the playoff series in the NBA between the the Golden State Warriors and Houston Rockets, it's probably going to be the series to watch.
yes.
After that, whoever comes out of that series and wins is probably going to win the NBA title.
I agree. I'm definitely not a Cleveland fan. I know I live in Ohio, but I do not root for any Cleveland sports teams. And this is something Iconic Drew does, and it's not just to piss off people of Cleveland, although it's kind of fun. And so it's a beautiful city, but I don't like their teams. But, it's kind of fun rooting against them, and it's really fun watching them being disappointed again, losing the NBA Finals, which is exactly what I want to see.
I hear Diamond saying all the time how everyone cries when their super when the Cleveland team loses. So
Yeah. So, all right. Well, Diamondback's here, Killer. I want to thank you for giving us a call. Appreciate that. Keep listening to the show. We like having loyal listeners and trying to build the base as far as that's concerned here with the Iconic Drew and cast of characters. As I said tonight, it's just Diamondback as a cast of character, but he's enough.
he's a character, all right.
Yeah. I've known him for over 20 years, so I know.
Get some.
So how long?
So probably you've known him about 5 years longer than I have.
Okay, I was going to ask how long you'd known him. So 2004, yeah. All right, well, Killer, I do want to thank you for giving us a call. I appreciate that. We're going to play a couple songs here, folks. When we come back, we're going to talk about NASCAR, the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing, and what their policies and drug policies are with their performance-enhancing drugs. So we'll be right back with that in one moment.
White Castle's cheese slider has all the fans. And now you can grab a $4.99 combo for a $7.99 10.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to get through this thing called life. In the elevator, trying to bridge for hell, that's a mighty long time, but I'm in the punch don't lie, what you living in? Take a look around, at least you got friends. I call my old lady, for friendly word. She picked up the phone, dropped it on the floor. That's all I heard. I'm gonna let the elevator break us down. Oh no, let's go crazy. Let's get nuts. Look for the purple banana till they put us in the truck. Let's go. I'm excited, don't know why. Maybe it's 'cause all gonna die. We do. What's it all for? Then live now. Oh, when you come out, you know you're tell me. Gonna let the elevator break us down. Now let's go crazy. Let's get nuts. Look for the purple banana till they put us in the trouble. Let's go. Come on, baby. Let's get nuts. Yeah. Let's go crazy. Are we gonna let the elevator break us down? Oh no, let's go crazy. Let's go crazy. Let's go. Everything will be alright. Make this thing go wrong. Feel it.
Ricky was a young boy. He had a heart of stone. Lived not too far, and he moved his fingers to the bone. Just barely out of school. Came from the entrance town. Talked like a switchblade, so no one could take him down. No, he had no money. No good at home. Walked the streets a soldier and he fought the world alone in nowhere. 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know. Your crime is time and it's 18 in life to go. 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know. Your crime is time and it's 18 in life to go. In his heartbeat, his face full of gasoline. It kept his motor running, but it never kept it clean. They say he liked adventure, Ricky's the wild world. He never in trouble, had a constable with the gun. Bang, bang, shoot him up, but the body never ends. You can't think of dying when the bottle's your best friend in hours. 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know. Your crime is time and it's 18 and a lot to go. 18 in life, you got it. 18 in life, you know. Your crime is time and it's 18 in life to go. Cities will have fun, the old good Ricky said. He fired his 6 shots in the wind. That's true, that's true. In life you got it. 18 in life you know. Your crime is time and it's 18 in life to go. 18 in life you got it. 18 in life you know. Your crime is time and it's 18 in life to go.
Welcome back, everybody, to the iconic Drew and Cast of Characters show here on WTMHradio.com. We are at 614-781-0754 if anybody wants to call in. We got just a couple minutes left of the show tonight. We were going to get into NASCAR and talk about their roles and look at what they think as far as what they do for performance-enhancing drugs and alcohol testing as well in NASCAR. Right, the National Association of Stock Car Auto Racing. However, we're going to not get into that right now because there's a lot of detail there as far as that's concerned. So we're going to let it go. And basically, we're going to just wrap up right here and just give our opinions of the 4 leagues we've talked about. Once again, the National Hockey League, Major League Baseball, the National Basketball Association, and the National Football League. I think we kind of in agreement that either Major League Baseball or the NBA are the 2 toughest.
The 2 toughest on penalties.
Yeah, on penalties. Penalty-wise. Testing-wise, man, I got to go with the NHL on testing-wise because when you're talking about an entire team and you're saying that you don't know when it's going to be during the season, like I said, the only downfall to that is that, once that testing happens, then then you're free for the rest of the year. And that could not be good, maybe, in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, that opens the barn door big time there.
Yeah.
So maybe they need to make it, twice a year or something of that nature,
Right, maybe towards the beginning and towards the end and all that type of stuff, maybe. I don't know. But, I mean, I do like the way they're thinking on that. I agree with what Killer said as far as the National Football League is concerned. They've got problems outside of performance-enhancing drugs and steroids and all of that type of thing. And to refer to Mike Golick again, he's come out and said that he used steroids when he played that were not illegal at the time.
Right.
So that was the difference, And I'll give him that credit right there that he admitted that he did it, but they were not illegal at the time.
And they mostly use the steroids for quick recovery. I mean, if they get a break, they get a snap, of a bone.
Mhm.
It does help you heal faster.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's actually amazing how that is, because I just recently had to take steroid myself, and it was amazing how that helped me over an antibiotic.
Yeah, exactly. So next week, this is the iconic Drew and Cast of Characters show. There's a couple things we haven't gotten to. We've been teasing for a couple weeks now about ways to clean up baseball, and not clean up baseball, I shouldn't say it that way, ways to make baseball better, because baseball's a slow sport. So I think next week we're going to start with that topic. And then maybe we'll look at NASCAR and the stuff that we had about them to compare to the other four leagues as well. Maybe we'll get into that. And I'll spend some time thinking of another topic. We are kind of in, the doldrums of summer here. We have still the NBA and NHL playoffs going on. By this point next week, we will be into the Eastern Conference Finals and Western Conference Finals in both of those sports. We could talk about for a moment at this point which one's more exciting, which one's more thrilling, and which ones we're watching more, and all of that type of thing. So we could go down that road as well. We were down that road a few weeks ago before you started with us diving back, and that was pretty interesting. My boy AB, I really thought he's a huge NBA fan. I thought he was going to jump all over saying the NBA was better, but at that time, it was the first round of the NHL playoffs, and the Jackets were in, his Flyers were in. There was all kinds of, excitement for him.
I mean, for me, you asked me, I watch the Calgary Flames. That's the team I watch. Actually, they're a northern team finally, but they had to leave Atlanta for me to be a fan of them.
Yeah.
So, and I'm an Atlanta Hawks fan. So, neither one is very interesting to me.
Well, the Detroit Pistons suck, and that's my team. Yeah. They're horrible. But I've been a Piston fan since I was a kid, so I always will be, probably.
But they've always been a team.
Yeah.
They don't just represent one or two players. The last time they had one player, it was Dennis Rodman, I do believe. And of course, he's not a number one individual.
So, we could go down that road for a minute and talk about, and there's also another topic that, since we are in summertime right now, there's another sport that hasn't gotten any representation yet on the iconic Drew and Cast of Characters show, and that is Major League Soccer. We do have a team here in Columbus, although they're thinking about moving down to Texas. So hashtag save the crew, by the way. Hashtag save the crew. We're all about saving them and keeping them here. Say heck with their owner. He can go to Texas. Leave the team behind. Go build your own team down there, pal. But that's my opinion anyway. That's the iconic Drew opinion on that. So I think that we could talk about, though, the topic of should Major League Soccer games end in a tie? Or should they figure out a different way to do overtime like every other sport does? And is it part of the reason that there's not a lot of soccer followers and it's not considered one of the four major sports? You'll notice tonight we talked about four major sports in their drug policies, and we did not even think about talking about Major League Soccer and what they do. I have no clue what they do, to be honest.
Until you really read them off tonight, unfortunately, I did not do any research this week, and I do apologize for that.
No, that's okay.
Until you read them off, I really didn't know. I knew that baseball was pretty strict, and I knew that the NFL was pretty lenient, but
Yeah.
as you said, Killer had a great point with why the NFL might be.
Right. All right. Well, let's go ahead and say goodnight for this week. That's always a sad occasion, but good night, everybody here. This is the Iconic Drew and Cast of Characters signing off. Tonight we talked about the 4 major sports and their drug policies, performance-enhancing drugs and other drugs. And had one caller call in. Killer, thank you again for calling in. We appreciate that. And maybe next week we'll have more callers, and we'll get this going, get things going, maybe even get a few more characters in here. Who knows? It's always a possibility. So, but nonetheless, this is the Iconic Drew signing off with Diamondback. Again, Diamondback, thank you for coming in tonight. Appreciate it. 20 years of friendship and coming in tonight and being on the show. I appreciate it. Anytime, of course, anytime you want to come in, you're more than invited. You know that. So, good night, everybody. Iconic Drew signing off on WTMHradio.com.